Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls, and welcome again to yet another lecture of dynamic gravity. So, I promised I would finish out my three-part series on the human brain and how it works and whatnot and why it's so important. And believe it or not, I've been working on this for a while. This isn't just something that I got high last night and thought up. Actually, my work into the brain and how that can sustain a ghost or a soul goes back, believe it or not, before my research in gravity, which is now almost 20 years. It's a long time. Excuse me. Drain breath. I'm just getting blown up in the war. I'm gonna do some wine today. It's been a while since I've drank some wine. So, ooh, that's not bad. A little dry for Pinot Grigio, and that is definitely how you pronounce it. If you think otherwise, you just lost 10 cool points. More if you argue with me. So, I actually wanted to talk about the left brain interpreter module today, and I actually wanted to talk about this years ago, but then I got sidetracked with the whole gravity mathematics thing, and that all worked out, and I got sidetracked with figuring out all the rest of physics, and then I got sidetracked with religion and all this stuff. But today we're gonna do that. We're gonna wrong that right today. We're gonna go over the left brain interpreter module and why it is so important and what the hell is going on with that. But first, I want to do a clarification point from my last episode last week where I said how the soul talks to the brain. I misspoke. This is not what's going on. The soul does not talk to the brain, like ever. Okay? That's why right now you have no recollection, you have no memories, you have no feelings, nothing giving you any insinuation that you have a soul hiding inside your brain right now. Now, your soul learns through the brain. So your brain talks to the soul. So last week when I said, all these things, like how all these neural pathways light up, beep, 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 and then they create a chain, and it creates like its own special type of electronic, electromagnetic waves and all this thing that are ping kind of similar to like how electric eels circuits work with their low channels, ion channels. That's the brain talking to the soul. That's how the soul is learning from the brain. Like whatever the brain sees, the soul sees it as well, and the soul has learned how to decode and interpret what the brain is talking about through your lifetime of having one. Okay? But as far as the soul talking to the brain, that never happens. Okay? But the soul does learn from the brain. So the brain talks to the soul. So I just wanted to clarify that point. And one of the things that I think really nods to this is the Gospel of Mary. Not Virgin Mary, but Mary Magdalene. The prostitute that Jesus healed and had great reverence for. He really loved her and cared about her and deeply. Was she wrote her own gospel, because she survived and went to France and lived out her life there and died an old woman in a cave in a monastery with monks. She had her own gospel, but you don't hear about it because A, it's written by a woman. There's reasons for that. As you can see when you go through her gospel, it's very woo-woo, very spiritually minded. It's not anything at all like the other gospels. But there is one thing, there's a few things actually in here that she says is very interesting. I'll probably have to do an episode on all this, but one of the things that she does here is she talks about the soul, okay, and how Jesus would talk about the soul and the spirit and everything. And one of the things that Mary says, which is very interesting, is that the soul is trapped inside the brain. Okay, it's trapped inside the body, and that the body doesn't even know it has a soul, but the soul is very well aware that it is trapped inside the body, and it knows this. Okay, so the soul answered and said, like when the soul, when you die and your soul's trying to release from the body and your body's dying and dead and it doesn't want to let go, the body's like, fuck you, you're a part of me. And then Mary says, no, the soul answered and said, I saw you. You did not see me nor recognize me. I served you as a garment, and you did not know me. So basically, what she's saying here is that the human body is completely unaware in all ways that it has a soul. It doesn't understand it, doesn't know that. But then when it dies, it wants to cling on to it as though it's a part of it, to die with it. But the soul has to distinguish its own identity, your soul, from your body, and differentiate the two. And that's how you free yourself from the body. And it's just interesting that the way Mary Magdalene says this process goes is basically to recognize the fact that I, the soul, have been a conscious observer of what you have done, my body, your entire life. I know everything you know, but you never even knew I existed. Get wrecked. I'm fucking out of here. And then you just peace out. That's what she's saying. So I just thought that was very interesting because it kind of goes hand in hand with how I say the soul and the brain intermingle and work together, and as one until you die, anyways, and the soul pieces out. So there's something to think about, okay? But today we are going over the left brain interpreter module, okay? Now, I've seen varying things about what this module is, where it is located, and what it's doing. And this opinion has shifted radically over the decades since the first was first discovered back in like the 1970s, okay, with research going back as far as the 1960s, okay. Originally, I think they believed it was a module that was located like somewhere around here, in between where the reptilian brain is, your lower brain, where all of your thoughts originate. And then it gets filtered through this, where it goes to the left hemisphere of the brain. Okay, goes to this left hemisphere. So it'd be like right here, and so your thoughts will originate here, and then go through this left side, this left interpreter module, and through here, and then this will all access its data and use it, and it goes back and forth and communicates through this module. Okay. But it's not on the right side of the brain. It's only on the left side. And over the years, they seem to be unsure about where the module is actually located. Some people think it is just the entire left hemisphere that is acting as the module itself. The original work believes that the module is located like right around here, in between, the left hemisphere and the reptilian brain on the left side. And there's also schools of thoughts that it's incorporated into the left side of the cerebellum, cerebellar hemisphere, which is part of your reptilian brain here that controls your your motor coordination stuff, that sort of stuff. A lot of other things, I believe. So this is interesting. Okay, you have this module that's on one side of your brain. We know that for sure. And what it does is pretty radical and extreme. Okay, If we go to Grokpedia, this new thing, you can see is a neurological mechanism primarily located on the left cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so the left cerebral hemisphere be like right here. Okay. And it explains behaviors, perceptions, and events, often confabulating explanations when it lacks sense to full causal information, commonly observed in individuals with severed corpus callosum. Okay, so what they're talking about is this is the part of your brain that makes shit up, that lies. Okay, and there is a link somewhere in between these two hemispheres. Okay, this narrow strip of tissue, nerve tissue, that links the two brains together and allows them to communicate. So the left brain knows something what's going on with the right brain, the right hemisphere, and vice versa. Okay, which is good because they do different things. So if they can communicate together freely, you're more able to incorporate all the parts of your brain seamlessly into one experience. Okay, well, some people have like severe epilepsy and they get seizures, like a lot, really dangerous seizures, like 10 a day, and every one they'll be just like locking up for like 10 minutes. Okay, it's really bad. So what doctors figured out, I don't know if it's from the lobotomies or what, but if they sever this nerve tissue that links these two brains together, then what happens is the two brains don't communicate to each other hardly at all, at least not through this channel. And for some reason, that reduces, if not eliminates, the seizures. Okay, so only these people with severe life-threatening seizures do they consider this, because it's pretty extreme and experimental, at least back in the day, definitely. But all right, and so these seizure patients will have this severed, so these two brains don't talk. So the only way the two brains can talk is they have to go through the reptilian brain, and then it has to go shoot back up to the other hemisphere. It's the only way they can link together. Okay, they can't go back and forth like they normally can once they sever that, they snippy that. All right. So they started doing just experiments with these people who had this operation. Okay, the origins of the left brain interpreter model trace back pioneering split brain studies in the 1960s conducted by Gazagia. Okay, so they would split this. All right. And there seems to be a lot of good information here on this Grokpedia, but I think I'm more on a Wikipedia because it's got pictures and it's a little more established. All right. But okay, it was discovered by Gazzaniga. Okay, and this dude won like a Nobel Peace Prize shortly after this for this work. So I don't know if it was for this specifically, but definitely for the work he pioneered on the split brain studies, he got a Nobel Peace Prize for. This is not bullshit, okay? This is not some crazy dude coming out of nowhere. This is as legit as it gets, all right? And while he performed research on split customers, blah, blah, eventually received 1991 Nobel Peace Prize, okay? In performing the initial experiment, Gazzaniga and his colleagues observed what happened to the left and right hemisphere, the split brains. Patients were shown an image of the right visual field, which maps to the left hemisphere. So your left eye goes to your right hemisphere, and your right eye goes to your left hemisphere. They split. They cross. Okay. An explanation which could be provided. Okay, in the experiments, patients were shown an image on the right visual field. Okay, so on the right side, they were shown an image, But keep in mind, the two brains aren't connected anymore. So the only way they can communicate is to go down through the left brain interpreter module to the reptilian brain and back up to the other hemisphere of the brain. Okay? And basically what would happen is they would get really weird stuff. All right? Let's just let the man tell you. This is his own words here.
So the two hands were sitting there pointing at these pictures at the table, just like that. And we said, why did you point to those?
Mm-hmm.
So the left brain is the one talking, sat there and made up a story. Well, that's easy, said the left hemisphere knew why it pointed to the picture it saw, right? But the left hemisphere, in fact, doesn't know why that left hand is pointing to this other picture. It does not know it. But because the hand, that patient's hand was pointing at that picture, it quickly made up a reason why it was pointing to that picture.
So basically he would show them a picture of like a chicken, right? On like the right side. And then he would have them like pick up a chicken, like on their left side, like a little chicken. And he'd be like, why did you pick up the chicken? The two brains don't communicate anymore because these are epilepsy patients that had it severed. So the left brain and right brain don't talk. And so the eye only sees what's processed by one brain because it's only shown to one eye. It's like a split screen, okay? And so they would be holding like this, they would see a picture of like an inhaler, and then they would say, pick up an object, whichever one you want. And then they would pick up the inhaler out of all the objects. You'd be like, why did you pick up that one? And what he's saying was so weird is they had lost the ability to say, I don't know. Beats me. And so what would happen is they would have to fucking lie. This brain would have to contrive this whole bullshit story about how like, oh, I love inhaler. My daddy was an inhaler maker. True story. He was the greatest inhaler maker in all the lands, and the emperor would come and get inhalers from him because he was over and he's just going off on this story. And this dude is just sitting there like, really? Your daddy was an inhaler maker, huh? And he used to do dealings with the emperor, huh? Is that a fact? And they're like, yep, true story, totally. I swear. And they go on and on and on and on as long as he lets them go on. Like they couldn't look at the picture and be like, I have no fucking clue why I grabbed that. They had to lie and make up a story. They had to lie.
It had to tell a story that made sense.
Okay. So that's kind of the basic summation of it, all right? And you might be like, well, why is this such a big deal, Sean? Why are you showing me this? Why are we getting into this rabbit hole all freaky style? What the hell is going on here? It's time we had a talk. You see, when I was a younger man, I used to drink a lot of alcohol and do a lot of drugs. I know it's hard to believe. Don't know why anybody would get that impression from me, but true. And I would go to a lot of parties in college, right? The frat parties, whatever, toga parties, freaking diaper parties, moon parties, fucking you name it, dude. I don't give a shit. E-parties, cocaine parties, fuck it, whatever. Party. And at these parties, I would get lit with everybody else. But I'm a little different beast when I get lit. I love to argue and debate politics, religion, and economics. I love that shit. I just love it. I love to see what people think and why. And I'm not really trying to convince anybody they're wrong or they're dumb for this belief or that belief. I just want to know genuinely what you believe and why. Can you justify your beliefs to me in a way that are rational, or are you just pulling from bullshit and feelings and what your mommy told you when you was 5 and you never questioned it? What are we doing here? And out of the thousands and thousands of debates and arguments that I have gotten into, I have never, let's get full screen for this shit. I have never been able to convince anybody of anything where they changed their mind ever. Like 0 fucking times in my life have I heard someone say, wow, when you put it like that, that makes me think about things differently. Never have I ever heard this from anyone ever my whole life. Friends, family, strangers, people I just gave money to, does not matter, ever. It is literally impossible to make a human being change their mind based upon facts and reason alone unless they have dedicated their lives to that. And usually that involves you have to kill your ego first with hallucinogenic drugs like mushrooms and have ego death. And only then can you finally be persuaded with facts and reality and shit. Okay? True story. So I want you to think about that. And at first, when I was in college, we didn't have smartphones, okay? So we didn't have access to the interwebs everywhere we fucking went. So at first I was like, well, they just don't know the facts, okay? Like, I just got out of this college course. I know the facts. I did all these papers. I had to write these 20-page papers on this subject. I know these facts. I know the references. I see them. If we were at a library, I could pull the references from the books, and I could show them that. So, but then like 2008 came and like people started getting smartphones, and I got a smartphone, a cheapy one, and I started looking up stuff, at parties, at these debates, and I'm thinking, well, surely I'm gonna be able to convince this dude that he's wrong on this issue, on whatever it was, whether it was crime statistics or like I said, religion, like some religious thing that my religion's better than your religion or whatever, or politics, economics, how the Federal Reserve works, whatever, man, you name it, dude. Pick something. It doesn't fucking matter. Just something that seems like a confusing subject and people don't automatically understand it. They have to kind of be explained it. And a lot of people are explained it through these bullshit, sources. And so they get this confabulated, understanding of how this shit works. But then when you show them, like, from Wikipedia, I remember when Wikipedia first came out, I would show them like, oh, well, you say this, you say that, no bird can migrate 10,000 miles around the entire world. Yet here we go. Here's this swift I can show you from Wikipedia that migrates annually up to 12,000 years, going from like Arctic to Antarctic or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, there it is right there. Black and white. You can see it. And they're like, fuck you. That's Wikipedia. No college professors accept Wikipedia because it's bullshit. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go to the source that Wikipedia sourced in that was an actual peer-reviewed paper or, study or whatever done. There you go. And they're like, I don't recognize that because that's some bullshit rogue scientists that work for Wikipedia. And it's just like, oh my god, dude. Like, there's literally nothing I can do to make this guy fucking believe that there's a bird that can fly 12,000 miles. Like, he just doesn't want to believe it. It doesn't matter what sources I give him. I cannot make this motherfucker believe that. Even if I show him a bird and tail this bird in an airplane, all 12,000 miles. Like, look, that's a bird. That's a fucking bird. And he'll be like, you know what? That could be a different bird. Doesn't look like the same bird to me. They will come up with any bullshit reason to not have to justify changing their opinions on anything, no matter how small or minute. Remember, I've been arguing with motherfuckers my whole life. 0 times have I ever gotten anyone to ever change their mind, no matter how much facts, evidence, testimony, you fucking name, videos. They will be like, bullets aren't accurate a mile out. Here's a video of a sniper shooting a target from a mile away. Oh, well, that's bullshit. He's using special bullets that are magic and blah, blah, blah. And that's fake CGI. It doesn't matter, dude. You name it. They don't want to change their minds. They just don't want to. It doesn't matter how much evidence and facts you have and videos, and just grab them by the hand and take them. Look, hold their fucking eyes open. Look, just fucking look over there. Look, there's a fucking deer getting eaten by a fucking alligator. It happens. Nah, man, I think that deer stumbled and the alligator's trying to help him. Fuck you, you know what you're talking about. It's like, there's nothing you can do. These people are insane. They're literally mental. Every single human that has not experienced severe ego death with numerous heroic doses, they're fucking nuts. And so, this is important, okay? Because this is an important lesson that you have to learn about people. They're tribal as fuck. Meaning they pretty much just want to do whatever the tribe's doing and then know that they're safe and secure within the numbers of the tribe. They don't care about reality. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about what the actual fucking thing is. They just want to be able to fucking nod with their buds to the tribe. Yeah, that's right. We both agree. But yeah, ain't no bird can fly 12,000 miles. Fuck you. Yeah. We're friends. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. It's all tribal mechanics in the brain, okay? And the left brain interpreter module, it basically fucking lies to you. It is the reason why you can have a Democrat and a Republican both looking at the exact same data set, and they can come to 2 completely different conclusions. You can have, like all the immigration, all the immigrants being flooded into America while the Biden years, right? And then Trump comes in and magically it stops. And then you ask Republicans and Democrats what this means, and they will come to completely different ideologies from the exact same data set. And that is the left brain interpreter module. It is looking at whatever it is, and it's pulling whatever data it can from your cortex, your mammalian brain, to justify whatever it wants to justify. And there is a reason why it does that. Okay? And the reason, which I'm going to explain in depth here in a second, but just so you know right now, to get your Wesselwit on it, it is basically to ease discomfort. It is to make you feel as comfortable as possible with your decisions and your actions so that you do not feel distressed. That is the sole purpose of the left brain interpreter module. And I'm going to go into why that's important later, but just think about that. There's a part of your brain that literally half of everything that goes through your brain has to process through this module. And this module's only fucking job in life, as far as we can tell, is to lie to you and make you delusional as fuck about whatever it is you're talking or thinking about, just so that you feel good about it. Fucking humans. Okay, so, all right, we heard from the man that got the Nobel Prize for this shit. Let's hear a little bit more, though. Okay.
2 hemispheres, each doing half the work of being you.
This video really explains it. Why I want to show it to you. It's like 5 minutes long, but it's worth it.
Your vision
Trust
goes
me.
to each and half your movement directed by each. Right controls left and left controls right. Your 2 brains coordinate through a wire of nerves, but this wire can be cut and was, for a time, used as an epilepsy treatment. After the cut, people seemed the same, though their brain was split in twain. Except some post-split patients describe that while selecting their morning
All
outfit
black
with
shirts?
right hand,
What is all
left
black
might come
shirts?
along to disagree.
What the hell
Actually,
is that?
left hand might quite often disagree, which these split brain patients found frustrating. What's happening? To investigate, remember, right brain sees and controls one half, while left brain controls and sees the other. But only left brain can speak. Hello. Because that's where the speech center is located. Right brain without this is mute. In normal brains, this doesn't matter because each half communicates across the wire with the other. But split
So think about that. Your right half of your brain does not have the ability to communicate or talk. So any thought that your right half of your brain has to ultimately go through and get processed by left side of brain, or it will never be spoken of publicly out loud. It can be thought about, but never spoken. Think about that. That's pretty wild.
Split brains can't, and thus you can show just the right brain a word, ask the person, "What did you see?" and you'll hear nothing. Because left-speaking brain saw nothing. Meanwhile, right brain will use its hand to pick the object out of a pile hidden from left brain. This is deeply creepy. Ask, "Why are you holding the object?" and speaking left brain will make up a plausible sounding but totally wrong reason.
I always wanted to learn how to solve one of these.
Left brain isn't lying, it's
Lies.
just doing what brains do, creating a story that explains its past actions to its current self. A behavior which does rather cast doubt onto the notion of free will, but that's a story for another time. Creating reasons for why it does things is just something left brains do. It happens in normal, healthy humans all the time, and if you think about it closely, you know you've done this. Back to experiments. Give right brain an object, ask the person, "What's in your hand?" and they won't be able to say.
I'm not holding anything.
And when asked to draw, a split brain can draw 2 separate objects simultaneously with each hand in a way unsplit brains find challenging. These experiments on split brain patients are deeply unsettling because they really point in the direction of a mute, separate intelligence, something living in the skull. You can
Okay, I want you to think about what he just said. This points to the possibility or the insinuation that there is something that is living inside your brain that is completely mute and does not have the ability to speak. I refer you, sir, to the Gospel of Mary, saying, "The soul answered and said, I saw you. You did not see me, nor recognize me. I served you as a garment, and you did not even know me." Yeah, let that just simmer for a second. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying that is the way it is, but I'm certainly at this point in time I'm not going to stick my dick out, have that shit cut off to say it ain't. At this point in time, as far as I can see, it could be either which way.
Living in the skull. You can even ask questions of a split brain and get disagreement on the answer. So if your brain is split, who is the you in this situation? From the outside, it's tempting to think of the part of the brain that's speaking as the person, but something is hearing and answering questions. And though right brain can't speak, it does understand faces, which left brain can't. If this is you, you don't know who your friends and family are in a crowd. This act of cutting exposes two minds in one head, and the talking mind doesn't know there's someone else in the house. The left brain can describe the situation it's in, but nonetheless will constantly be surprised by right brain's actions and explain them away. There's a question to be asked here. Why, after separation, does right brain not totally freak out, but instead plays along helpfully, answering questions and listening to left brain's dumb stories about what's happening?
It's the best pony? I don't know.
Speculation time, but one answer is the cutting doesn't make right brain a separate intelligence, consciousness, person, but rather it has always been. In normal people, perhaps right brain grows up as a companion without a choice, feeling at first somewhat equal partners, but then as speech develops that it can't participate in, that increasingly becomes the central point of life, it resigns to mutely coordinate with left brain. At this moment in your normal head, there are two of you watching this video, one having a mind equals blown moment and the other mentally rolling its eye at the obviousness of it all. In split brains, right doesn't freak out because not a whole lot has really changed. You might not agree and may be arguing right now why it can't be possible, exactly as we would expect talking left brain to do. Speculation aside, split brain patients show at the very least that in the mind there is a separate something that can hear and understand and respond given the right circumstances. Your brain isn't entirely yours. Who is you? You is two. But we can go deeper. You are many.
The pile of meat that is your body is made up of trillions of tiny individuals that have a life of their own. So
Interesting. So, that's a lot to process, okay? Basically, they have proven through these experiments with epilepsy and separating the links between the two brain nodes. There is definitely a part of your brain associated with the left hemisphere who just seems to just want to lie to you and everyone constantly, all day, all night long, never stopping, just looking at whatever bullshit facts they can find in both hemispheres and quickly pulling them just enough, just deep enough looking at them to justify whatever it wants to justify. And this is why you cannot change anyone's mind ever on anything. But if you know me, you know I don't believe in that. You know that I believe that for every vice, there is an anti-vice that counters it. For every rule or law, set of laws, there is an exception to those laws. You think I'm bullshitting you? When I was in the police academy, I was told of a story in Miami, because when the cops was there, it was there, where they heard a guy who had went to a Miss Florida pageant, whatever, and saw this super hot chick that he loved there, and he had his bodyguards kidnap her, and then he kept her as his sex slave for months, just fucking the hell out of this chick, gang banging her, all sorts of shit for months, dude, in this high rise fucking condo. And so word got out, and the police found out about this, so they went to go investigate, right? And when they went in there, the bodyguards were like, "You can't come in here, fuck you." And the police like, "We're the police, fuck you, we're coming in." And so the dude put his hand in the fucking door, and the bodyguard slammed it and broke all his fingers. And the police, like, his hand was so badly damaged, he could never fire a gun again. He had to like fucking, like, he had to get like pension or something, at least so he says. Who knows what the truth is, but and they went in this place, and yes, they found this chick chained to the fucking bed, just straight up, sex slave, full blown sex slave. This young, college girl was kidnapped and taken as a fucking sex slave and threatened to be murdered many a times. The dude who did it, and every single one of the fucking bodyguards with him, diplomatic immunity, baby. Saudi princes. Fuck you. And not one charge was ever filed. Still think there's no exceptions to every fucking rule, my son? You clearly have not been paying attention to this world, then. For every rule, there is always an exception. The question is, how? How did it come to be? Here's a popper. Wow, we curse. A new psychotheoretical theory of speech, all right? And they basically go in to explain in this paper the differences between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and how curse words are processed, okay? Curses, swearing, and religious invocations were common emotional expressions produced by the left brain dominant patients with catastrophic reaction. So basically, this paper is telling you, in our research, we have noticed that cursing and religious invocations and certain extreme emotionally driven behavior, comes from the left side of the brain, or other things like regular speech come from the right side of the brain. Okay? Now, but look, yes, scientific research suggests that curse words are processed differently in the fucking brain, my baby, than typical language, involving areas where thought are separate from primary language centers and thus may not engage the left brain interpreter module in the same way, motherfucker! Ah! Go further. Yes, curse words are processed differently because they're more closely linked to emotion, relying more on the right hemisphere and the lymphatic system, whereas regular language is primarily processed in the left hemisphere. Okay, that does seem to be contradictory from this guy's claim of left brain dominant patients, but maybe I misinterpreted this. I haven't spent time to read all this work and stuff, so. This is why people with left brain damage who may lose the ability to form coherent speech, otherwise known as aphasia, can often still swear, and those which are right brain damage may have intact speech but lose the ability to swear. What did we learn from this? We learned that curse words or any emotionally invoking speech or actions are more processed by the other part of the brain that is not dependent on the left brain interpreter module. Meaning, if when I'm debating with you about, say, whether a swift or whatever can fly 12,000 miles during migration from North Antarctica to South, Arctic or whatever, blah, 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 vice versa. If I just do it kindly, like, look, pretty please, sir, consider my opinion is valid. Look at my evidence based upon the statue and pillar which it stands upon, sir. I invoke for you reason, sir. Please look at this from a conscious point of view. Fuck you, they don't care. They don't fucking care. You can't make them. Unless they've had ego death, then maybe it's possible. Possible, not guaranteed. But if you come at them with a very aggressive and emotionally charged way, like, fuck you, motherfucker! I'm gonna tell you, Booker Swift can fly 12,000 fucking miles, bitch! It's a fact! You're much more likely to be like, oh shit, I guess that's a fact then. I guess Swifts can fly 12,000 fucking miles. I guess it's really a thing. It's really a thing. It's a thing, guys. I get it now. I get it. And that just breaks my fucking heart about human beings. Is it their default settings will not allow them to see reality, the realm we live in, the truth, as it is. They just can't. They're blind to it. They're fucking blind to it. But if you start sprinkling in some curse words and making things emotionally charged, now all of a sudden they at least start to understand it. But a lot of times this backfires. I've tried this as experiments before in arguments, and it backfires too. It's not perfect. It doesn't really work that great, because what happens is once you invoke the emotional responses, okay, now you're bypassing their left brain interpreter module. So yes, they are hearing every fucking thing you say, and it's not being skewed by the delusions of the left brain interpreter module. But now they're angry and they're pissed. And when you're pissed because you're being emotionally charged by someone cursing at you, now you lock up. You're like, fuck you. I don't want to believe anything you fucking say. Yeah, I don't care if you're right or not. You're an asshole. I don't want to reward assholes with being right. So now they might know, okay, this guy's right. I can't fucking disagree with him. He's fucking right. But they still want to rebel and not agree with you simply because they hate you now and they don't want to agree with somebody they hate. It's a totally different thing, but it's the same fucking result. Fucking humans, man. Anyways, are you starting to see why I'm talking about this? Why this is such an important thing for humanity? We have to figure out a way to defeat the left brain interpreter module, or 90% of the population, by my math, is going to forever be delusional as fuck. And if you don't understand why that's a bad thing for humanity in whole, in general, then I can't help you, brother. You're in the wrong place. You need to think harder about that shit. So, I said earlier I would explain why the left brain interpreter module is so important and why we had to evolve with this thing. Why did we evolve from fucking dirty animals, butt-sniffing fucking animals, and we have this left brain interpreter module? Every animal has this. I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to conjecture. I believe this. And the reason why I say this is because of this. Do animals commit suicide? No, they don't. Like never. Like ever. I mean, I guess you could argue some animals, like an octopus, after they've made it and they've served their purpose, now they go off and just sit and die. And you could argue that's a form of suicide. And this is instinctual embedded behavior into their behavior, but we're talking about like normal suicide from like depression, okay, from not being happy or satisfied with reality. Animals do not do that, as far as we can tell. Most experts do not believe that animals are even capable of intentional suicide, although they may exhibit behaviors that appear similar due to, genetic ingrained behaviors, instincts, from whatever. Like I said, mating behaviors a lot of times. Like maybe a male black widow spider walking up to a female black widow spider, and he's like, I'm going to get my fucking head bitten off, but fuck it, I don't care, I'm busting in this. You could argue, but it's also a mating over thing. It's not a good comparison, man. If that's the best evidence you got, you don't have much. I'm sorry. It's a fact. It's a fucking fact! Did it get through better? Did it? I bet it did. So, this is the purpose of why we have a left brain interpreter module that lies to you fucking constantly about everything and makes you delusional as fuck unless you do a bunch of psychotic drugs to have ego death. And if you notice, a lot of the people that have severe ego death, although yes, they can be, they're very living in the realistic world and reality, the realm reality we call. A lot of them are also suicidal. This is effectively nature's anti-suicide module embedded into your fucking brain, my man. This is Mother Nature and evolution would not allow your brain to evolve in this way where you're delusional. You don't even fucking know. You're looking at something, but you're like, clearly that's not possible because the tribe says so. Okay. You're delusional. It's dangerous for you. But it doesn't matter. You evolved that way. All animals have. Because what's more dangerous for you is to not have any ego, to be completely enveloped in reality, and to see how disappointing and disparaging it is. And then it affects you in a certain way. And before you know it, you're like, fuck it, what's the point, dude? This sucks. I just want to die. Fuck it, let me die. And you just fucking die. And once you die, that's it. Game over. So your brain has to have some way to counteract these suicidal thoughts that reality causes from depression and suffering. Ergo, your left brain interpreter module, which goes on and on about how great fucking life is and how happy you are and how fucking wonderful everything is and how blah, 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 blah. Do you understand now? Do you understand now the risk of ego death? Yes, you will see shit as it really is and see things in a way that 90% of everyone else just can't fucking grasp from doing just a buttload of hallucinogenic drugs. But it will also make you more prone to suicidal thoughts. Because the part of your brain that lies to you and tells you how great fucking life is all the time and why you shouldn't kill yourself, now all of a sudden it's shut up. And it's just you. And your epiphanies and realizations that life is not this great thing, this gift. It is more like a test. And if you don't pass, fuck you. The consequences are severe. So, I hope I have done a good job of explaining to you all of this stuff today. I think we're going to call it here. Yeah, this is getting on like an hour. I'm getting rather tipsy. And yeah, I'm gonna go play some video games and get high. Think about this though. You have a part of your brain that lies to you constantly and makes you delusional as fuck for the sole purpose of making you less suicidal. And there is another part of your brain that is completely mute and silent, that is very intelligent, that doesn't get a fucking say a word in ever. That could possibly be related to your soul. We don't know. I don't know. We have no clue. Maybe one day God will set me straight on that. Maybe. I can only hope. But on that, I bid you farewell. Adios, muchachos, and sayonara.
Like, subscribe, submit.